This is the Sam Sorbo Show. The School District of Philadelphia encourages teachers to attend a conference on kink, BDSM, transsex, and masturbation sleeves because, you know, kids need to know this stuff. Also, the makers of the Genderbread person announce a new tool to teach kids about sexuality, the SexualiTREE. Oh, gosh. Wait for this one. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. Stay tuned. You've heard me talk about Mike Lindell, who I adore. You know, he's the inventor of My Pillow, and how that pillow has given me a good night's sleep that I need. In fact, I never knew how good I could sleep before I had my Pillow. Mike continues to roll out new offers on his products, and the latest one is on his towel sets. Towels aren't something you think about often. I never knew what I was missing until I tried the towels just last year. Now, you have all helped build My Pillow into the incredible company that it is today, and you've trusted Mike Lindell to give you a great night's sleep. Mike's now changing the game with his 6-piece towel set. The set's made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, and yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. The set comes with 2 bath, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths, typically retailing for $109.99. But for a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $39.99. And that's using promo code Sam Sorbo. So remember, all My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. You just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener specials to get this insanely low price of $39.99 on the towel set. You'll find deep discounts on other My Pillow products as well. So enter promo code Sam Sorbo, or you can call 800-625-5983. That's 800-625-5983 for these great radio specials. Hi, this is Sam Sorbo. I want to invite you all to join me at the Playbook for Home Learning Conference put on by Underground Education. There's a new community that started online called the Underground Education Community. You can find it by going to samsorbo.com. You can also find all the information about the conference, about how to approach education with your kids. Times are hard for parents right now. There's a lot going on in the schools that we don't like. But I'll tell you something, home learning is easier than you ever thought it could be and more fun than you ever imagined. So join me at the Your Playbook for Home Learning Conference this June 24-25 in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And we're going to have a great time. Go to samsorbo.com for more information on everything. I'll see you there. Hey, welcome to the Sam Sorbo Show. I want to spend the show today talking about some of the stuff that's going on in our schools because it's really beyond the pale at this point. So I have a couple different stories I'm going to bring to you. The first one comes from Philadelphia schools. They're touting a radical transgender conference. You can't make this stuff up, folks. This is real. This is off of City Journal. City Journal's a publication that I highly respect, and so I advocate for them. This one is called, it's by Christopher Rufo. It's called Banging Beyond Binaries. The School District of Philadelphia encouraged teachers to attend a conference on kink, BDSM, trans sex, and masturbation sleeves. Now, I just want to ask, what does this have to do with education? That's really the biggest question on my mind. Like, when did we go from reading, writing, and arithmetic to kink, BDSM, trans sex, and masturbation sleeves? And how is this, quote unquote, educational, or how does it further the development of the child? This is going back to last year. The School District of Philadelphia encouraged these teachers to attend this conference in early July 2021. The district's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which is really DEI, which is like a short form for crazy talk, craziness. They sent invitations to the Philadelphia Trans Wellness Conference to the teachers and staff that were on the mailing list. They promoted the conference as a way to, quote, learn more about the issues facing the trans community, because that is the most compelling issue that we have today, not how you balance a checkbook or how to properly engage in a job interview, say. That's not what we want to teach these kids. We want to teach these teachers that they need to do better at imparting the issues that are facing the trans community, not the issues that are facing young female athletes who are now being displaced by young male athletes who are claiming to be female. No, that's not what they want the teachers to focus on. Focus on issues facing the trans community, which, by the way, the trans community is probably the smallest community. Like, aside from a community of one, the trans community is infinitesimally small. They're just very loud in the United States. The School District of Philadelphia described its promotion of the conference as part of its commitment to creating equitable and inclusive environments, and said it did, quote, not have any information on the number of teachers who attended the event. So we don't know how many teachers went, but we still thought it was a good idea for them to go, because we want that kind of inclusivity in our classrooms, and we want to empower teachers to talk about sex with their students. And by the way, at the same time, the Biden White House is telling teachers that they are a set apart breed, that the children belong to teachers when they're in the classroom. They no longer belong to the parents. And by the way, have all the sex chatter that you want with those kids. Feel free to talk about masturbation, mutual masturbation. I'm going to keep this as PG as possible, but honestly, this is what passes for modern American education. So I was poking around online. I've become pretty active on LinkedIn recently, and there was a posting on LinkedIn about a guy whose daughter came home with some sort of sexual homework, something. And he was like, I confronted the teacher about this, and I gave the school a piece of my mind. And when is this kind of thing going to stop? And so I posted back to him and I said, when are you going to man up and be a father to that young woman, who's 12, by the way? Be a father to her and tell her she no longer has to go into that abusive situation. You know, we're facing a real crisis in the United States now, and it is the sort of the culmination of a number of different forces, that many of which sort of generate from inside our school systems. Okay, just whether organically or on purpose, by design. And one of the issues that we have right now is that we get confused with complications. We allow extraneous information to confuse the decision-making process. So I want to simplify it for you guys, because this is a new thread that I've been pulling on lately. The fact that every choice is a binary choice. You either go or you don't go. You either do or you don't do. It's a binary choice. You either send your child to school or you don't send your child to school. And so for that reason, yes, you can do pros and cons, but ultimately the choice is binary, and the choice typically resolves into one major element. What is the most important factor to making the decision? What's the most important factor? And then don't allow the noise to confuse it. Well, yes, but what about blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. There is one most important, one penultimate important factor. and that is the safety, the health of your child. That's why with the school shootings, I don't understand parents who then send their kids to school the next day. Like, to me, it would be like, nope, I'm out. I'm out. My child's too precious, not going to risk their lives. My children. I'm out. Like that would have been if in fact, if in fact my kids were in school, that would have been my, and okay, that's hypothetical because I pulled my kids out of school before then. So it's kind of easy for me to say. I don't know how, as a parent, you dress your child up because all these mass shootings in schools, and by the way, a number of the ones that have been foiled, there have been many foiled plots to blow up schools or for mass death at schools. They're all in small towns. They're not in the most obvious place, the gang zones. They're not. Which brings us to a whole other kind of conversation or focus, I suppose, which I'm going to cover in a later episode. So if safety is number one, why would you put your children back into an institution that is declared a gun-free zone? Be like, no, I'm a Second Amendment person. That goes against. And by the way, what do you tell your child? Don't worry, it'll be fine. What do you tell your child about what happened to those young children at Uvalde who were cowering inside the room, begging the police to come in while they were picked off one by one by the shooter, according to reports? How can you justify your behavior? You're sending your child into into a school. How can you justify it in light of everything that we know about not just Uvalde, but all of them? Columbine, Sandy Hook, they're plenty. They're too many. So reduce your choices to the binary choice based on the number one priority. So I talk to parents about home education. I'm producing a conference this month up in Port St. Lucie, June 24 and 25. Go to samsorbo.com for more information about that. It's called the Playbook for Home Learning, because what I'm trying to do with the speakers that I've brought in is impart to parents that home learning is not school at home. And in fact, it has almost nothing to do with school at home, because everything that we learned about education from school, basically wrong, basically misguided. So how do you change the way you think about education? How do you wipe that slate clean? Well, I'm going to give parents with this conference a new vision. We're going to cast a vision. They'll have a new way of looking at how to get the education of their children done. And it doesn't look like school. It in some ways resembles school. In very, very small ways, it may resemble school, but it doesn't have to. And in many ways, it doesn't at all. Because you don't have to be held hostage by a system that seeks the destruction of children. Which brings me back to the videos that Christopher Rufo obtained, showing that the conference went far beyond the school district's euphemism about, quote, issues facing the trans community. The event included session topics such as the adolescent pathway, preparing young people for gender affirming care, bigger dick energy, life after masculinizing or gender reassignment surgery, prosthetics for sex, the ins and outs of masturbation sleeves, and trans sex, banging beyond binaries. So he literally took the title of his article from the title of one of their sessions. The conference attendees included educators, activists, adults, and adolescents. There were graphic sessions on prosthetic penises, masturbation toys, and artificial ejaculation devices, which some hosts explicitly promoted to minors. And as one session host explained, there's no age limit because I feel like everybody should be able to access certain information. It used to be that we would protect children from certain information. Not these people, because the earlier that you can damage a child, the sooner you can get him in your clasp. I'll read this last piece in the article. I suppose it's not the last piece, but I highlighted it. The conference began with presentations promoting puberty blockers, hormone treatments, breast removals, and genital surgeries. In one session, the adolescent pathway preparing young people for gender affirming care, Dr. Scott Mosser, the principal at Gender Confirmation Center in San Francisco, explained that he has performed over 2,000 top surgeries, which involve removing girls' breasts, and that there is no age limit for beginning the gender journey. That is mutilation. I do not have a minimum wage of any sort in my practice, he said, explaining that he would be willing to consult with children as young as 10 years old with parental consent. I'm just waiting for parents to sue this guy. In another session open to children, gender affirming masculine and feminizing hormones for adolescents and adults. Dane Menken, divisional director of LGBTQ services at Mainline Health, endorsed treatments ranging from puberty blocking hormones to manual breast binding for masculinizing adolescent girls. I'm a strong proponent that you can bind for as many hours a day as you can tolerate binding, he said. Now, it used to be in China, they would bind women's feet, girls' feet, so that they would grow up with what they started calling lotus feet. And it's feet that grow kind of like, I'm holding up sort of my fists, because the toes start to curl under and the feet become little blocks, because they're bound with silk, which is unforgiving. And it's very painful. And it's very painful when they remove the bindings to reset the bindings. And they've stopped doing it because it's torture. But here, sure. And by the way, don't get me wrong. Yes, I know all of these people are tremendous perverts, and they disgust me because what they are doing to children is nothing shy of child abuse. It used to be that we protected children from this kind of abuse. We understood that children didn't have to know things until certain ages, that they should be kept innocent, that we wanted to preserve their innocence, but not anymore. And just in case you wonder about Christopher Rufo and City Journal, which is actually a highly acclaimed publication, Daily Mail also carried this. Philadelphia's school district emailed teachers and staff on their mailing list to inform them about a 3-day, it was 3 days. My conference is Friday night and all day Saturday. This is literally 3 days, and it's free. Trans Wellness Conference. The school district told City Journal that promoting the event was part of its commitment to creating equitable and inclusive environments. And they talk about the sessions and what they discuss: sex toys, sex after realignment surgery. To teachers, marketed to the teachers in the public school system, folks, or teachers in the school system. This is why I'm telling you, your children don't belong in school. Your children ought to be protected from that. And I'll just quickly add, if you're afraid that they won't get the quote unquote education, have no fear. They're not getting educated in school. So it doesn't matter if they miss school And if you fail on the education, framework agenda that the schools have devised, the schools devised it. So if you fail by their metric, it's still not a loss. So we'll leave it there, and I'll be back after a brief break. This is the Sam Sorbo Show.